Greetings, soul family. It's Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing on and syncing up with Mustafa today, one of my patrons on Patreon, a membership of the Akashic Alliance tier. Every single month, I will be completing these Oracle Wisdom readings for all of my patrons of that particular tier. And I implore all of you to go and take a look if it is something that you wish to construct with our soul family together. So before I get started, I wanted to urge you, Mustafa, and the rest of the collective to pair this up, synchronize the messages from Spirit that you are receiving into your own Akash with that of your card pull that I did for this month. The messages are inexplicably interlinked. I have been meditating on your auric atmosphere for quite some time. And all of these different messages come through in a multitude of ways. They come through to me via the cards. They come through to me in visions. They come through to me in all of these different synchronicities that just emerge within the landscape as I am syncing your auric field with that of my own. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take a few deep breaths, and I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to go ahead and link together all of these synchronicities that I've been uncovering in our Akash so that our wisdoms can kind of intertwine the two, and we can do our best to make some sort of dualistic sense and application to our everyday world, okay? Okay, what I immediately am immersed in, Mustafa, is a sense of isolation. But it's not really the kind of isolation that you make synonymous with that of sadness or that with rejection, or it's more of the self-imposed isolation by that of a hermit or that of a holy man or woman, someone who has decided to take an inner look, reduce all of the outside distractions that inexplicably attempt to link with her or his auric field. But they're eliminating the distractions from without so that they can take a more clear and focused perspective of within. And this is a purposeful decision that they are making so as to discover something about the big without, of which they are inexplicably a part of. There's a very big play on that which is inner applies to all. And something that came to me as I was doing your card pull, Mustafa, was this book called Narrow Road to the Deep North. And it was a book that I read while in ancient Asian religions class back during my alma mater. Very interesting material that I uncovered there. But this particular work of prose was by a man by the name of Matsuo Basho, and he was a poet, a Japanese poet during the 17th century. And I was linking with this man as he wrote this story. I could not tell you what this story was about. I could not tell you, I could not recall. I'm sure I had to read it and remember it for a test. But I was linking with Matsuo Basho during your card pull. And that title kept kept kind of reverberating to me, narrow road to the deep north, narrow road to the deep north, because one of the cards that was pulled was the magnetic north for you. And as soon as that card was pulled, this was actually permeating through my auric shells in a deeper and deeper way. And I was like, okay, I know this is part of his oracle wisdom reading, so I need to pay attention. And upon further discovery and further inquiry into Matsuo Basho, the actual work that I was referencing in my Akash was the actual words in Japanese are oku no hosomichi. Oku no hosomichi. And so what that literally translates to, according to some scholars of Japanese language and English translation, is narrow road to the interior. So let's review here. What do we have? We have the exact same reference, excuse me, to a work of Japanese prose that by the collective's interpretation has been hitherto regarded as narrow road to the deep north. The deep north. That actually can translate to the exact same meaning as narrow road to the interior. And what I would like for you and all of us to kind of explore a little bit further in this instance, in this revelation of synchronicity by way of equating the deep north to the interior, okay? So what do we as a collective think of whenever we think of a deep north, okay? A deep north, what do we think of whenever we think of north? We think of the North Pole. We think of the Arctic Circle, right? We think of the magnetic north, like what came up in the card pull. Okay, so that's up, right? By the perspective that whenever we look at or see the earth in our own orb of understanding, we see the north at the top of the sphere, do we not? So a deep north would be at the very, very top, right? Now let's shift our perspective to one of a different view. Let's look at the earth in a different way, and we're going to invoke, very fun stuff, we're going to invoke the point of view of the flat earthers, okay? Now, I don't say, no, that can't be right. Yes, that's absolutely it. I entertain and I welcome points of view of all different, of all different light sheddings on any different concept, because I know that it has much to teach us. It does not matter whether it is or is not reality, okay? It has much to teach us. The flat earthers look at the earth from the top down view, okay? I want you to imagine being up high as if you are the infinite creator of your universe, and look up high and down at the earth. And what is it that you see? Whether it is that you ascribe to a flat earth or a ball earth mentality, right? You're looking down at either a globe or a two-dimensional flat terrain. What is it that you see when you look at the north? But the very center of it all. Do you see? Do you see how now that the narrow road to the deep north can actually translate to narrow road to the interior? The interior, the central substance of it all, okay? So this, whenever we equate it to the messages and we correspond and collaborate with the card pull of the magnetic north card. Whenever we are being pulled towards the earth, right? That is what electromagnetism shows us, when we are being pulled towards the earth at a higher rate because of the magnetic north. What are we being pulled towards? Are we being pulled to something outside of ourselves, something so external and foreign and otherworldly like that of the North Pole? Or are we being pulled to our own center of consciousness? Is this not what all of the different self-proposed isolationists, our monks, our holy people, our priests, our nuns, those who take a hermit life as a modality and vehicle, just like your chariot card, a vehicle by way of discovering the deep north or their interior? I'm feeling a very strong Japanese influence in this oracle wisdom at this moment, Mustafa. It could be past life oriented, or it could simply be frequency focused upon that which this part of the world, this very northernmost part of Japan, where these holy people go to meditate and to detach so that they can re-immerse themselves in everything. Okay? It's interesting, the contrast between the card pull and this oracle wisdom, because that of movement was very strong. It was very prominent in that of the card pull, but here I feel so still. And it feels almost as though the vehicle, it very well could be an actual vehicle moving you to the other end of the world. But your guides are imploring you to nonetheless feel and embrace the stillness that is shared with you, nonetheless, in that experience. Whether or not you are moving across the world at the speed of light, or if you are sitting alone and still for weeks on end and fasting in the mountains shrouded in snow, you are taking a journey. You are taking a narrow road to the deep north, to the interior of all that is. In order to understand all that is without, you must first understand all that is within by having it let go of everything. And this really does bring into play that purification by fire. There is a strong duality connection, antonym type of relationship here between fire and ice. There is a coldness to the stagnancy, and then the fire brings with it, with the wind and the wind currents. This is something as well that has been coming through, and it is shifting our landscape, and it is that of cymatics. Cymatics, very much like the wind tunnels, the wind currents that were very prominent, that were very present in your card pull. These cymatics are, they punctuate the space with that of sound frequency. And you cannot see it. You cannot see all of these markings that this sound is making in the ether. You cannot see it unless somehow you get it to record, unless somehow there is a medium by which you provide that the markings will be more permanent for your eyes to behold. And this is similar to that of the wind currents. Just because you cannot see it does not negate in any way its power. If anything, it makes it more. North. North can be atop or it can be in the middle. That is what is conveyed to you today in terms of all of these messages shared. So join me just one moment as we embrace the perspective together that Jonathan Adam Pants put forth in that everything is scalar. Okay, we're going way down in dimensional quality, all the way to that of the molecular level of the atom. And then we're going to scale it up, and it's all scalar at every different level. There's many levels in between that of the atom, but then move forward to that of the planet. Okay? And if we as human beings are an intermediary scalar jump in between that of the atom and that of the planet, we are all representations of one another at different dimensional scales, like reflective of one another, are we not? So that, here we go with this fire and ice quality. It's interesting. As you go further north, as you go further into the interior, however it is you want to look at the translation between these words, this oku no hosomichi. Oku no hosomichi. Whichever you want to go towards, because if you go north, you will reach ice. You will reach this isolated corner of the entire world. But if you go inward, if you go to the interior of this world, the further and further you go inward, in and of yourself, it seems to become still. However, at the very center we have the burning magma. We have the stuff of volcanoes, because as we pack more and more pressure internally, further, deeper, the more pressure that is applied, rocks will metamorphosize here into something completely different than what they thought that they were. These are messages. These are inquiries from Spirit to look deeper at these translations, for you to look deeper into this mantra, this Oku no Hosomichi mantra, and also into that of the Japanese heritage as a possible past life, as a possible frequency that is calling out to you at this time. Something to do with something that you should possibly be seeking. Some synchronicity is there. And it's interesting, the the wind tunnels that you are meant to travel, these little still small voices along the way that will lead you along that effortless, resistant-less wind tunnel, that wind current that is your life path. I'm actually seeing it as a road, and it actually encircles this route that is meant for you, and it leads to the deep north, which is the same as your interior. These were beautiful messages that were shared today. And if they spoke to you, I urge you to connect with our Inner Soul Circle family on Patreon. There are brand new wisdoms that we are shedding light on as a collective so that the entire collective can benefit from the Akash that we are rediscovering together. If this is something that speaks to you, I urge you to take a look in the description and click on the links that will lead you into your own narrow road to your interior. I thank you for syncing up with us today. If this video resonated or spoke to you in any way, I do hope that you will hit that like button and subscribe for future wisdoms that we are all going to be sharing together. This is Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing off.